everything. And still just want to check in. When I say I want to check in, I literally just wanted to make sure people are like literally okay. Because why is it so hot outside? Why is all that smoke outside? Now, granted, I'm aware that there are fires that are happening in Canada. And what I have found online is just absolutely horrendous. It's so unfortunate that it's happening over there. What I find very interesting, the thing that made me kind of really want to ask some questions is, right, the level of smoke. I live in Michigan. The level of smoke. When I say a couple days later, it still smells like somebody is barbecuing like right next door. When I tell you it's hard to breathe, like when I say I'm not being facetious about that, but being in Michigan, when you gotta crank these babies out. Yeah, you see that? Yeah, we gotta crank stuff like that out because when you go outside, it's literally hard to breathe. People are kicking out those masks that we used to have to wear back in the early stages of COVID. When you know the parts, we got the two strappy pieces, the one piece for the front, the one piece for the back. Those were very uncomfortable. So, like, I didn't keep mine very long. Wish I had one in the home right now. But literally, what is going on? It's just like so much stuff going on. I was trying to inform myself. Like I always say, like, let's be informed, right? I go look up some of the news clips and articles for what people are putting out there. They said going outside right now is like inhaling 7 packs. Well, not 7 packs, 7 cigarettes. 7 cigarettes from a pack of cigarettes. Excuse me? You talking about just to go outside? They didn't really give us the exact amount of time, but I'm just saying that seems a little much. When I tell you a couple days ago, it was like literally a thick fog that was outside. You can still kind of see it don't look fully clear. That's some wild work. That's some wild work. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's really wild. They said that because of the level of devastation, and I got some videos. I'm going to put them up as shorts because of the time frame. They're going to put them up as shorts. I saw a video where there was a gentleman, or two gentlemen rather, in California, in Canada, and they were inside some form of a residential, and you can literally just see flames just engulfing everything that's like outside of it. I will put that in the short so that you guys can see it, but that was just wild to me. The aftermath of that, like that's the smoke from those wildfires coming downward this way. So here in Michigan, like we literally getting choked out. It's ridiculous. Like when I tell you, don't know what happened there, but having difficulty taking my dog outside. Granted, I have a Frenchie. Anybody knows anything about Frenchies? They don't do that well with heat anyway. So he's not just outside, and he definitely not no outside dog. He's not the kind of breed you should just be outside all day long. Can't trust folks like that. But normally he can get some time to be outside. I do allow him to go outside because he loves to sunbathe, right? He loves to have his little natural, just little moments, right? Oh no, none of that. When I say you're struggling to breathe, I know there's some other states that are having those same hard hits, and my heart really does go out to people that's in Canada, because what I was able to find about the devastation that's happening out there is heart-wrenching. But when I tell you, like, the way that smoke has been coming down and has been hitting us, it's wild. When they talking about, like, oh my God, the temperatures outside even, it's just wild. I pulled some stuff, like I said, off online. They said that there's lots of metal and plastic because of the level of devastation, right? There's cars being burnt, homes being burnt, high levels of plastic being burnt. So guess what? We inhaling that into our bodies. They said there's going to be like longitudinal impacts from inhaling the smoke. I said, well, look at that. As if we didn't already have a very just interesting year. We got to add that to the plate. As a millennial, I was just like, wow, another thing. Yet another thing that's happening that we just have to find ways to cope with. But seriously, I just want people out there to be super safe because this is no joke. That's not something to play with. You don't really have to be outside like that. I wouldn't do it. You know, if you could find some way to have good ventilation, maybe put some fans on. Like I'm going to put my fan back on just to make sure the air circulates a little bit better. I got my inhaler here just in case I need to do what I need to do. Even the way like I'm talking, like you could just tell like it's not as comfortable with my breathing, which I'm not happy about like whatsoever. That just really sucks. I just really think about the animals that are just sitting outside that can't get safety. I think about people, better yet, like the homeless people who have to sit outside with these obnoxious temperatures and then the lack of access to clean air, right? This is literally air pollution that you're just being hit with. There's multiple states. Another piece that I'm really struggling with is the lack of information. You know, before they would like give you warnings and notifications and stuff like this was happening. There was like nothing. You just walked outside. Like I literally said, I thought somebody was barbecuing or something. At first I smelled, I'm like, what is that? Then I got nervous thinking that maybe there was someone's home that was on fire. So I remember being younger and you kind of smell like, you know, someone's house being caught up like in the distance. So I was kind of looking around to see if somebody was, you know, in distress or there's going to be some type of alert or something that happened. Then I come to find out it was something going on in Canada. But that should let you know how strong that presence was. It literally, when you look, you see that it was a fog. I was just running out because the dog obviously ran me outside to potty, right? He had to do his business. And I went out immediately. Then I just was responding to the environment. But that just was a kicker. And then the next piece that's really getting me is how long it's been in effect, right? It's multiple days of having a fog, a film outside. It was literally smoke. So and then the crazy thing is when you were outside, it almost felt like it was gonna rain because of how outside just kind of looked. You know, sometimes you get that feel and it's like, okay, I feel like it's about to rain. You think about condensation and the smoke and all that. I mean, I guess it makes sense. But then also the temperatures is just outrageous. So I don't know. I just wanted to hear like where you guys are at. Like, are you experiencing some of those things? I've seen some people say there's some things, they've experienced some things in New York. I've heard some things about Illinois, specifically people like in the Chicago area. Like, where are you guys at? Like, are you experiencing some of that? Because it just seems really wild. Like for me, as far as the impact, I'm just thinking like, why didn't they give us any kind of like notifications? Normally they have like special broadcasts or some sort they would give you for something like that. We didn't get nothing. It just was boom, it's in your face. We know that there were some changes administratively. I shouldn't even say administration, more so with certain policies or things that were happening. I still guess that would be considered administratively with regards to how some of that information moves along, right? But it just seems like that's just something you would tell people about. You would notify them as soon as you are aware that this is happening. You would trickle that information out and down, because for people just to not be aware that that's happening seems just to be very wild. That's why I was like, I just want to get on live and talk to some people, and I kind of want to track it real time, right? I'm curious how long this will impact, because we're talking about neighboring areas. We know that because, you know, it's smoke and it's going to drift through the wind, right? So it's drifting downward. Thank you. It's drifting downward. So it's going to impact other places. I'm just curious, like, when you go outside, are you in that drift, that downward drift from what's happening with the wildfires in Canada? Is it affecting where you are? Like, I'm just so curious because I don't know. It was just so, when I say to get choked out like that by smoke and for it to be consistently going on, that is no small thing. Okay, you said in your country it's so hot that kids are not playing. Oh, okay, now they play at nighttime. Wow. Where are you based out of? Or nearby, if you don't feel comfortable disclosing that. And once again, thank you for complimenting my earrings. So while I wait to see that one. From the Middle East. Okay. Yeah. I could imagine being super hot and having them go at nighttime. I'm just imagining, wow. I guess I'm also kind of curious of what's, I wish there's like more relief for the people who are like in Canada dealing with those wildfires. And I guess I'm probably have to do a little bit of research on like what ways we can try to help them, because if I'm experiencing that here in Michigan, I can only imagine the levels of devastation that's happened out there. So I will be in researching that a little bit more. But wow, wow. And I just feel like just historically the whole conversation on global warming, right? Because it's just the summers are way hotter than they used to be. I don't know why, but my body cannot take the heat the way that it's been going on. Someone asks, where am I from? I am from the United States, specifically talking about Michigan and that closeness to Canada as to like why that smoke has been hitting so hard that I had to go pull these suckers out. I was so happy to remove that from my regular experience, and now it is back again because that occurred, right? I mean, and people just kind of can't. But it just reminded me, like, I don't know if people remember, like, maybe that was a US thing, but like Smokey the Bear, and it was just like, oh, I wish they had Smokey the Bear commercials nowadays, because it just feels like, man, how did that happen? I read somewhere online, it said it was like 400 wildfires. I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm still waiting to get more information. I feel like there's not been enough information circulating on it. So that's, to me, super problematic. Yeah. Even when I go outside, I see the comment of when you go outside, it causes you to kind of get rosy in your cheeks. Yeah, me too. Me too. Like, you get real flushed in the face. It's super hot. It is super hot. I don't know how to describe it. It's an uncomfortable kind of heat, right? I feel like summertime, I used to like the warmth of summer, especially being from Michigan, where I feel like we don't really always get as much sun. So when summer would come, I would be super excited. I mean, sometimes it would feel a little bit more warm than it was comfortable, but I was excited about the warmth. Now it feels, I'll just say uncomfortable, right? It's too much heat, right? I guess if I had to describe it in a way, right? Right now, how I would describe, and this is, I guess, if people like spicy foods. Like you think of like habanero pepper, and you think of like that sweet heat, something that's like really kind of like, okay, this is hot, but it's enjoyable. It's set up the right kind of way with the nice little big things. Versus like if somebody gave you a California Reaper, which is like one of the hottest peppers, right? You're like, it doesn't matter what you pair with that California Reaper pepper, like that's hot. You're going to react to that being hot, right? Habanero, usually they put that with sweet heat. It's like you got pineapples with it, you got a little mango, you got something sweet with it. It it's almost okay. It's still super hot, but like it's not your everyday situation. You don't want that every day, but it's more manageable. Right now, I feel like that California Reaper pepper, like it's a little too much going on. I don't really care how you fix it. This is a little too much. So that's where I could describe that one. Said you're literally wearing sunscreen inside. I could imagine that. Like some people can't really eat spicy food. I just like a little heat. I don't like too much heat. I like a little heat. A little heat. Especially if we can make a little sweet heat. That's perfect. That's perfect. But I don't know how to describe it. Like, I know there's gonna be longitudinal like impacts. I know there's gonna be long-term like hits as far as like the respiratory system with all this going on, because even while I'm talking, I can feel it in my chest right now. It's like you can just feel like I know I probably won't do the live as long as I thought maybe I could get on, because I want to get, you know me, I like to get to them receipts. I want to talk to y'all. Y'all give me some information about what's going on where y'all are, and it gives me ideas on how to look on stuff. I can feel it in my chest. Like it doesn't feel comfortable as far as like breathing. Um, I'm certain there are people who have experienced devastations that are far more intense. We watch things online, you know, as we've seen missiles employed in some countries, and we've seen the devastation, people having live videos of life events that they were having, and you see those places that have been impacted, and you see the smoke. Certainly, you know, those people were impacted. I don't ever want to make, you know, light of anyone else's situation, but I'm not going to deny the fact that my situation is also equally uncomfortable, and everyone that I've encountered content who spoke on the way they've experienced it in Michigan will speak to the fact that it is very, very off-putting, the way it cuts your breath off. And I think a lot of it also has to do with lack of being informed, right? We were not prepared for the fact that our air quality would drastically change. We were not informed. We were not giving any preparation to say, okay, well, we see that something's happening in Canada. That information is being forwarded to us. We can put protective factors in place, especially for someone who might already have pre-existing situations, right, where I might need some support. Now you have put me in a predicament where it's going to be much harder to get to whatever my normal baseline is, right? And my goal is always to be performing better than that. But now, no fault of my own, right? That opportunity is being handled differently, right? Like I don't have the same level of opportunity to protect myself because they didn't give me information. So I'm just always big on information exchange, access, and consent. And those pieces were missing. So that's where my question comes in. What happens, right? Because there, based off of what we see, like there was some information that could have been trickled along. Why was it not? Even right now, I don't really see a lot of news about it. You see people who are impacted make content, maybe something similar to mine, right? You see us make content. My question is, how come we don't see news stations really reporting on it? Today, I found some articles. I found a couple of videos, which I'll put in my shorts. I said I've been seeing this fog film for at least about 3 days now. Consistently for 3 days, our air quality has been impacted like that. I'm just now starting to see some things on some news stations. Just now. They said, they didn't give it a specific time frame for what the period of time was. But literally, they said it's equivalent to smoking 7 cigarettes. Going outside was equivalent to smoking 7 cigarettes. Now, I would want to know what the time frame, like the interval of time that they're talking about, because I didn't see that in the article, and I didn't hear it. More so, it was I watched a couple different ones, and I put them in shorts, but there was a specific news clip that was also referencing some type of article, right? What's the interval of time? Like, how much time is equivalent to having 7 cigarettes? How is this going to affect people long term? What are some interventions that people can put in place to like mitigate some of that, right? Like, what are some things that we can do? Outside of just saying, put on your COVID mask. I think they're called the KN95s. I believe that's what the ones I have are. So thank you all for the engagement. I don't know how to have a mod, but if you want to be a mod, oh, I can add you as a mod. There you go. Hey, this is my first time. Thanks, Olivia. You're now a mod. So once again, thank you all for the engagement in the chat. I was just curious, like, how are like you all experiencing that? Because I mean, this is a pretty big event with regards to like the wildfire fire that's happening in Canada and the way that it's drifting and impacting other people. So I guess I'm just curious the movements of it, the experiences of it, because this is my experience. I don't pretend to represent everyone in Michigan. I represent myself, but my specific experience has been what I'm articulating, right? And I'm just curious where you guys are and like if it's impacting you in any kind of way. And if so, like in what kind of ways? Because I find that so interesting. I found, like I said, news clips, some video, from major outlets, right? That said that there was impact in Chicago. So Illinois, state of Illinois, Chicago specifically. There is presence in Michigan. There's presence in New York. I'm just curious what other places are seeing the impact, the exposure. Because keep in mind, it's wind, so it's going to go, right? It can carry, certainly can travel. When we're talking about air quality, I'm just curious which, where people are and like if they're having, any of those kind of experiences. I'll give you guys a little bit of time to do your thing. Put some things in the chat. Shout out to our moderator, Olivia, for volunteering to be my moderator today. That's the first time I've had a moderator on one of my lives. So once again, thank you for being the first and thank you for volunteering. No problem. Thank you all again. Okay, so I don't know if anybody's been able to go look at those. I'm gonna see if it lets me do the green screen where I can show you one of the. Get this really quick. Y'all see that? Look at that air quality. I'm gonna see if I can do that. I pulled this as you can see from online. Look at these different places. You have Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, right? Philadelphia, Illinois. Look at what it's saying what's going on with the air quality. These are severe warnings. I just want y'all to see that. I'm not just talking. Look at that purple for Thursday. The air quality forecast. Very reputable. I want my finger all into the screen, but right here. That's a very reputable news station or news source, right? I'm not just saying stuff for the sake of saying it. Like, I'm very curious, where are the long-term impacts gonna be after that? Because the air quality, no doubt, has been impacted. Very, very curious. You have so many people who already struggle with health conditions. So now here, my historical, clinical background, like kind of advocate background pops in. What about the people who are already struggling with respiratory issues or health issues in general? Right? That change in air quality certainly isn't going to make their situation easier to navigate or manage. What about people who already had conditions that maybe were very much in a controlled range, but now that this has happened, they're moving out of range or an appropriate range? Okay, seems like Olivia has to go, who's our moderator. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate you so much for being on the live. Hopefully, if you haven't subscribed, you subscribe, you stick around, and you pop up on the next live I'm going to give you another shout out then. You're awesome, and thanks for popping in. Absolutely. You know, I just always think about how does this affect the community? Y'all know one thing I do here at Legally Everywhere is I talk about the Legally Everywhere framework that I created, but we have this portion which I call harm absorption. How does the everyday civilian absorb the harm? How do we absorb the harm? They didn't notify us. They didn't give us a mumbling word, now did they? To prepare us for the fact that what? There might be changes to our air quality. Quite literally, one of the clips that I found online was connecting prolonged exposure to the metals and plastics in the air to cancer based off of previous studies that they had access to. They just kind of dropped that in the news and then just walked away. You don't just tap dance and tiptoe into statements like that and just drop off. No. Like, you need to give us more information, but everything has been very scarce. I don't like that piece. It's like you didn't give us information. Then when you gave us some information, it's very scary information. Tell us how to help ourselves. But with harm assumption, right, or absorption rather, give us tools so that we can be okay. Right? So is the government going to give out masks maybe for some people? Right? Is there going to be like oxygen treatment that's going to be available for some people? You know, like, we already know that access to healthcare is already a very touchy, very, very touchy conversation. This impacts people's health. Point blank and period. This impacts people's health. It's hot on top of that, on top of the pollution in the air. On top of the pollution in the air, it's hot. It's super, super hot. That's going to impact people's health as well. You got the combination of all that going on. There's going to be aftermath to that. And I'm very curious what that's going to look like. I'm always just interested in how do we make it whole? How do you make it whole? How do you remedy some of this? Because a big piece of this, from my perspective, is the lack of information, the lack of access to information so that people can make decisions for themselves and their households. There are some people who maybe have some sensory sensitivities, and it'd be kind of difficult to just jump to putting like certain masks and certain kinds of things on them. So maybe the family would have liked to have a little extra time to try to get them a little bit more acclimated. When it comes to safety, of course, you're going to just do what you have to do. But if you could prepare, of course, if you can have the information ahead of time, of course, you always want the information, right? Some people don't like a whole bunch of stuff all over them. If you know you're going to have to work on, let's say, a protocol, some steps, whatever, some comfort elements that you want to add to what you're doing so that you can get whoever you need to have this protective equipment on, it would have been nice to have a notice so that you can put those things in place. Not just having access to the materials, but preparing people on how to use them and how to get it integrated into their habits. Some people have very rigid habits and behaviors, and you have to have some time to work them into it. You can't just pole vote people into activities, right? You can't just jump on in there. Sometimes you got to slow and ease people in. But what was happening, we don't get those opportunities. It's just missed opportunities and moments is what I more so tend to lean on. It's not that you can prevent every bad thing from happening, right? You can't prevent everything. But having information allows you to plan so that you can figure out what you want to do and how you can do it. and strategize. Because a lot of times, a big part of it for a lot of people is just how am I going to cope? At the end of the day, you have to figure out how you're going to handle the situations that you're placed in, and managing what you can do with the resources that you do in fact have. So if you don't give someone enough information so they can try to procure certain resources, right, you did someone a disservice. The government was aware that this thing was going on in another country, right? There's no way that they wouldn't be aware of that. Why were there not like more announcements so that people could put some protective factors in place? Even if it's something as simple as saying like, hey, we'll put a fan so we can recirculate, so the air's not just overly stagnant in one area. Maybe we get it moving around. Not to say that's going to help long term, but maybe that would feel a little different. Even if it's not a big intervention, it wasn't going to have a big effect. Maybe it's like, okay, you get a fan and you buy a special filter and you kind of doing that, so it's helping to filter out. I'm not saying that these are suggestions or recommendations. I'm just saying when you process, like if you're saying I did the best I can do, you can handle the outcome a lot better than I wasn't giving any notice and I'm not happy about it, right? Because now there are extra things that said individual has to grieve, right? And it makes you ask certain kind of questions. Like I have questions about like the obligation and duty to warn people, but I have to like look in to see what the standards actually are at this present moment to like have more dialogue on that piece. But I'm just always interested in the absorption, and I'm also interested in going back to the initial piece, like access to information, because I think that would have helped a little. So I'm going to look and see if there are any questions, because child, like I told you, my chest hurt, so I shouldn't be doing all this extra talking right now. I just wanted to share my thoughts with y'all, get some comments from you all, because y'all my people. And I'll come back to you sooner than not, because I'm going to drop some things over into the shorts. I found some videos. I might be able to condense them down into maybe like one video. We'll see. Maybe like longer, bigger video. But for the most part, I'm just going to drop them into the shorts so that y'all can see them here. We can kind of track this real time, because y'all know I'm always one for trying to track some stories real time, seeing what's going on. So we can all be informed. At the end of the day, I just want us all to be informed. I haven't been seeing as much reporting. Wish I was. So I'm just chronicling more so how I've been processing, seeing this. When I can get you some more receipts and some more details, I'm going to be all in them receipts. Y'all know how I am. I'm going to be all in them receipts. I'm going to bring them to y'all, because, that's what we do. We collect receipts over here. You might as well call us the IRS, because we all up in their pocketbooks, and we looking for them receipts, okay? We trying to reconcile records. We trying to see what is going on. Being slightly facetious with that part. But, we are all in them receipts. And that's why we got the receipt buffet here on the Legally Everywhere channel. I like to say I have lots of different content on this channel. But for the most part, we are learning out loud. We're doing a little bit of show and tell. We just kind of look at things. We explore together. And we kind of come to understandings and truths, while we're exploring those things here on the channel. Just because I have a thought doesn't mean it's the only thought, but it is, once again, a thought, a way of seeing things, and I do like to share that with you all as I come across them. A lot of times I'm looking at legal material, and I'm just trying to break it down, making it accessible to the everyday person. So I do a lot of that on my channel as well. As several of you may know from being on my channel before, I'm an international law student. So I like to break down a lot of things that I've been studying, the comparative law things. I'm always looking into that stuff. So I like to share that. Today was just the day I just want to come on, chit chat with you all. We can timestamp some of this, right? Just archival. And we'll see where we are with that, right? As I told y'all, I bring y'all interesting. If nothing else is interesting, they could have handled this better. I feel like that's what I'm always saying. They could have handled this better. Not the wildfire part, right? You know, you can't, disaster happens, right? Things happen. But how did you handle the disaster? Like, how did you notify people? How did you help people put protective factors in place? How did we handle that piece? That's the piece that I have concern with. My heart goes out to the people in Canada. I got family in Canada. My heart goes out to them. The videos I've seen, there's just sheer devastation. But my heart's also going out to the people who are unknowingly being hit with smoke and didn't know that was going to be the case, and potentially are having changes to their medical conditions as well. Once again, that's a harm absorption that we're getting as the constituents, we're getting as the people, we're getting just being, you know, neighbors. We're just getting being here, just being around. Once again, it's interesting. So this is Legally Everywhere with y'all. We looking into everything. If you haven't already, you should go ahead and look at some other things on my channel. See if there's some other things that are of interest to you. Go ahead, like, subscribe, comment as always. Tell me your thoughts. I'm really interested. Where are you? You don't gotta give me your exact location. Ain't nobody trying to hunt y'all down. I'm just saying, like, yo, let me know where y'all are, and let me know if it's been hitting where you are. How is it impacting the places where you are? Because depending on, you know, geographically where you sit, you might be within that line where it's moving downward, right? So if your area is being impacted, like in what ways? I'm just so curious. I like to collect the information so I can kind of just know, right? Like, comment, subscribe, share if you like, do all the things you guys already do on my channel. And I'll see you in the next video, child. I'm gonna have to get myself a little bit of water. It's too much. I'll see y'all next time, and take care of yourself. Practice self-care, and also just in general, be safe out there. Be safe outside. If you don't have to be outside, and you in some of these affected areas, don't be outside. Okay, yeah, if you don't need to be outside right now, don't be outside. It's too much going on. Take care of yourselves. See you in the next video.